going to watch the counter until we get to the right point.
Hello everyone, and thank you for tuning in. My name is Bruce Buffington, your host of the show, and joining me is my co-host Ann Morrow. These shows focus on cycling in general and bicycle safety in particular. We air live on the third Tuesday of the month at 7 p.m. on Channel 11. You can view the replays on Channel 23, and at least one replay will air on Channel 11 on Saturday. Please consult the TVC-TV Northwest Bicycle Safety Council show schedule. I would like to extend a special thanks to Monto's Public House for providing delicious meals for our crew show volunteers. Monto has been one of my biking destinations for several years. Our guest is Hal Ballard, the director of Washington County Bicycle Transportation Coalition. Hal will be demonstrating the ABCs of checking your bicycle, how to get yourself ready for a ride, riding skills, the proper way to fit a helmet, and how to fix a flat. We invite you to call in with your questions and comments on maintaining your bicycle or other bicycle-related matters that are important to you. Also, Ann will report on some family bicycle events, general ride activities for the last part of August and the early part of September. Hal, welcome to the show, and Ann, thank you for joining us.
Glad to be here.
So how have you been, Hal?
I've been doing quite well. I rode down here on my bicycle today. I live up in the Bethany area, and it was quite a pleasant ride.
And a beautiful day for it. Can't overheat today, can you?
No, it's hard to do that.
And how have you been doing since the last show, Ann?
Doing well. Been riding a little too and enjoying the last days of summer.
Well, it's good to have you back. This promises to be a very good show. I understand that we're going to do an ABC quick check to start off the show. So tell us a little bit about what an ABC quick check is, and then maybe we can get started with your demonstration.
Sure, Bruce. Well, the ABC quick check was a a method devised for people to remember how to check their bike so that's when it's ready when they are. It's ready even before they are. Sometimes when we go places, you know, at the end of the day, we come in from our ride, we park the bike, and maybe we were hearing some little noises, or it was things were acting funny, maybe the brakes were squeaky, something like that. Well, the ABC Quick Check is something you do before you go so that you know your bike is ready to take you there and bring you back again.
Well, I guess we're going to start with the first letter of the alphabet,
Sure.
which is A, and A stands for?
A stands for air, of course.
Okay, tell us about that.
We have two locations for it, obviously. 99, 44, 100% of the bikes. Tricycles obviously have three, but it's the front tire and it's the back tire. What I do is I can squeeze them and kind of flick it like that, and when you hear that sound, you pretty much know that you've got enough air in there. It's always, if it's been a while since you've ridden, then it's probably a good thing to put the pump on it or your gauge on it and check it. But if you can't squeeze it, and if you get that good sound, then your air is good on your tire. Now, some of us have a third air system that we check. This is a high pressure bottle that I have, and I have an air horn that's right here. And it can be quite loud. and definitely get your attention if you're coming up on it.
Now, how long will that bottle hold air?
Oh, I can get about 10 good blasts out of it. If I have to use any more than that, then either I'm doing something wrong or maybe I'm in the wrong place.
So if I put air in this bottle today, let's say I have one of those, and I don't use it for a week, am I still going to have air compressed in there? Or
No, well, you might, but just pump it up. This one is nice, has a fixture right there for connecting the pump right up to, and that's all I have to do is pump it up 85 pounds pressure.
Now, how do you get one of those? Or is this something you designed yourself?
Well, no, actually, I don't recall. I think most bike shops, I'd say. It's been a number of years since I've had it, and I think I got it at a bike shop. So one of the local bike shops, I'm sure, would have it.
And when you're talking about the air, and you know you've got enough air in there, how do you keep the air in? I notice you have little black caps on the end of your valves there. Does that kind of help keep the air in?
Sure. Well, yeah, as what you're referring to is the cap right here. This is a press-to valve, and what it does, this cap's primary purpose is to keep the dust out, but also if there's a little locking nut here, if it isn't tight, and somehow you bump that little piston on the end, you might let air escape. So that's primarily what that one is for.
So now we have B, and I think, Ann, you had a question about what B stood for.
Well, B must stand for brakes.
You're right.
So what do we need to know about our brakes on a regular basis when we're going to go for our regular rides? What should we look for?
Well, every time that when you're doing your check first thing in the morning, or first thing before you ride, you want to make sure that your brake levers stop your bike. One way to do that is to give them a good squeeze. You also want about an inch or at least a finger to get between the handlebar and the brake lever to make sure that you have enough stopping power. In the ABC Quick Check, one of the things that I do, because I know my system and I know how tight it should be and I keep it adjusted, when I'm doing the check is I'll push it forward and squeeze and then bring it backward and squeeze. And I know that when I do that, the bike's not going to go anywhere, but I know my brakes are where they should be.
That seems a lot safer than testing it while you're riding and seeing if it's going to stop you.
Yeah, or finding out that you don't have them.
Yes.
You know, another thing that I do is check at the brake lever, or the brake shoe itself. What do they call it? Brake shoe, we'll call it that, lack of a better term.
That and a pad.
And the pad, thank you, Bruce. But sometimes, because you're riding in wet weather or in leaves or something like that, depending on where you're riding, you can get debris stuck up between the pad and the rim, and that can affect your braking too. So give everything a quick check before you start out with your brakes. That's the B part.
But if you run into some problems, or you feel that you're having some particular problem and you can't identify it and you don't have the expertise to fix it, should you consult a local bike mechanic?
Sure.
On these repairs?
Yes, and I'd recommend a local bike mechanic over one of the big box stores, because their livelihood is vested in here, and they pretty much know what they're doing.
So even though we're saying we've gotten through A and B of the ABC Quick Check, it's not really, we're not referring to the Quick Check as checking your bike in a hurry, are we?
No, definitely not, because quick, we're skipping the C in the ABC part of it. So let's go step back to the C, which is checking your chain and your crank to make sure that you're in the right gear. Sometimes, for example, I live on a hill, and depending on which way I go, I might be in a higher gear when I get home than the next time I leave. So what I want to be able to do is be in the right gear. So what I do at that point is I also check the levers here, kind of paying attention to the numbers, but I want to get to where I start. So what I'll do is just lift up the back end. And in doing that, I also hear the drive. I hear that things aren't chunking, that they aren't jumping around. So that's the chain and the crank and the derailleur part, the C part of the ABC Quick Check.
So what kind of problems would a person typically run into with the chain? It's not clean, or derailleur problems? What kind of things
Yeah,
will we experience?
well, more often than not, again, you bring the memory of your last ride. So if you're having problems before, if you were jumping gears, then there are a couple of ways you can check that yourself. There's a barrel adjustment that happens right down here, and what it does when you turn it one way or the other is it moves the derailleur, which shifts in or out, and moving the chain on any one of these cogs in the back. I've got a 21 speed, so I have 7 back here and 3 in the front, so that gives me 21.
But there are some screws back there, for example, maybe a set screw I've heard that you probably wouldn't want to play around with too much if you don't know what you're doing.
No, just, you know, if you, doing the barrel adjustments here, for example, and at the brakes, I didn't cover that too well in the B part, but if you have to make the adjustment a couple times, that's the time to take it to a bike shop, I'd say, to let the professionals look at it. You know, sometimes using your cable, your gearing so much, the cable stretches, gets old, and it doesn't do the job quite right. So, if nothing else, the bike shop will kind of put a little more tension on that clamp. I wouldn't suggest you do it unless you're a skilled bike mechanic yourself, because it could be dangerous.
Now, my understanding for some of our viewers out there, you can get classes on how to make these adjustments, the minor adjustments, and sometimes they're offered free at bike shops. Is that right?
Yes, most bike shops, especially in Washington County, I know 3 of them that do that. And even if you don't attend a class, they'll often let you come behind the counter into the work area and look at what they're doing and give you tips on, not that they don't want your business, but on being able to do some of those things yourself.
Now we've come down to the quick release. Now Q is not an ABC, so let's talk a little bit about the nomenclature on the
yeah, and that's, quick releases. We all have them for the most part. Any bike that you get, especially in a bike shop. Sometimes when they're in, if you get them up in a big box store, they'll have the hard nuts on the axles. But this one, and I'll turn the wheel this way so you can see, there's a quick release in the front here, and what that will enable you to do, obviously, is release the tire quickly. If you're parking it and you want to be secure, you can remove the tire. If you have a flat, it's an easy way to do it. So when, sometimes, let's say for remembering the ride before, let's say one time I went to the library, for example, the Beaverton Library, and they've got a nice bike parking system, those racks there. Another person parked close to me, and when I came back to my bike, I'm sure it wasn't intentional, but this lever was down. And if I didn't do that check, I might have lost control because the wheel might have gotten loose. Maybe not fallen off, but I might have lost control. So that's one quick release. Most bikes that have one on the front also have one on the back. And I press it. What I want to be able to do when I close it is to leave a mark on my hand.
And then you know it's good and tight. And
yeah. Right.
Now, what if the wheel is a little bit wobbly after you do that? What's the fix for that?
Yeah, well, the fix for it. What I do is lift up the front end and just give it a spin. And see, I'm not straight because it's sticking on one side or another. So I just loosen it again, rock it in place. I heard it settle. Clamp it back shut, and I'm free to spin.
So there isn't necessarily something seriously wrong if that happens the first time. It's just kind of check it over again, make sure you have that
and if you're riding on the street or something, you may get all the way home and not realize that. But you should feel it when you're doing any maneuvers with the bike because it'll feel a little sloppy. Another quick release I have on both my brakes is right here. I also discovered one time someone had undone this for me too, and I wasn't quite sure why. But this, it does a couple things. One, it facilitates removing the tire so that you can lock it up or repair it, like I said. But it also helps you when you're adjusting your brakes if you need to do that. And most folks have a quick release also holding up their saddle, and I check that every time.
Now I notice there are bicycles that don't have that quick release where you raise and lower the seat post, and so that would require a special tool, wouldn't it?
Most
an Allen
often,
wrench or
it all
something?
depends. It might be something that well, this is a triangle tool that I use. It's got 3 hex head sets. One is, I think, 6 millimeters, one is 5, one is 4. And they're standard tools, standard bicycle tools. In other words, 99% of anything that has this kind of fitting will have this size, one of these 3 sizes. So more often,
if you can hold that steady,
Sure.
they think they're trying to focus on that tool.
Oh, okay.
And,
Well.
so that the audience can get a good look at that. Now, where would you pick up a tool like this?
Bike shops again. Probably even some of the big box stores, something like it anyway.
Yeah.
But it's a handy tool to have, especially with a bike of any quality where they have a lot of those fittings. There's one here at the brake, for example, one here at the stem. I've got the quick release. You talked about not having it, but that's where a place for this tool would be.
So what other things are we going to need to know about giving our bikes the once over? Some of the things that you do when you prepare for your ride.
Well, and that's the check part. That's everything. Once you've gone through all the steps, making sure your bike is physically right, then just give it a quick spin around the parking lot, down your street, something like that before you really take off.
Now, Ann, you're a ride leader. What, do you have your group check over their bikes before they leave or talk about this at all?
Well, no, because I guess I hope that when we get to the ride, we're all ready to go. I guess kind of in conjunction with what you're saying, we kind of take our bikes for granted and just leap on them and ride away, but your bike shouldn't be making any weird noises like you're saying, the chain rattle and clunks and clicks, and you really need to be sensitive to your bike so that you can fix it yourself or take it in to get it fixed.
Yeah, and that's one of the important things that I like to stress is that know your bike, know where the fittings are, know where the adjustments are made, even if you don't want to or you can't, do it yourself. At least something happens to you, you're out there and you're not hitching a ride or jumping on TriMet or calling for a lift. So, short of maybe your chain busting, you can do pretty much anything.
Now, I notice you have fenders on that bike. Is that something that a person should think about having if they're going to be commuting on their bicycles?
Commuting, that's the key word, most likely, because if you're going to do any kind of exercise riding or what people call recreation riding, often that's done on road bikes with skinny tires and people wearing jerseys and lycra like that. This is my urban assault vehicle, if you will. All my mountains are paved. So I know that in the wintertime, in the rainy season, which is coming up pretty soon, that's one of the things I want to be able to do is ride in it but not get soaking wet. So that's why the fenders primarily.
So what are some of the things that you've experienced out on your rides with people that didn't check their bikes?
Well, we haven't had too many problems. I think mostly we have the flat tires, and that can be kind of unpreventable, and I think we'll kind of cover what to do if that happens to you out on the road. I think for the most part, people are coming out with pretty decent bikes, but probably like things like brakes and chains haven't been looked at or maintained, that sort of thing.
Well, what I'd like to do is run through an ABC quick. We won't do the check because I'm not going to ride around the studio.
Right.
Okay.
By all
it
means,
can be done very quickly. Okay.
Yeah, give us a demonstration.
Just a quick
there.
demonstration. And it's what I bring to the ride. Again, air. Squeezing this. That sounds good. And testing the brake or the horn.
The horn. You try to brake with that device.
See, I know this is right. And I can lift the bike up. Everything is right in the right gear I want it to be. And then I check my quick releases. And it won't hurt, for example, if you popped everything open and closed again. But you know where they are, so you pop them open, you close them up, you check these, and you're quick release, and then you're done. You're ready to take that test ride.
Well, I have to ask a question about something that I see that probably many people would not be familiar with. It looks like you have some little device on your spoke there, which I can't play totally ignorant to. It looks like it's like a magnet for a computer
Yeah, it
or
is.
an odometer.
Yep.
And so what do you recommend about having one of those? Why do you have an odometer, for example?
Vanity. I just like to know, I have 2 different bikes that I ride in, and my road bike, she's, well, I don't know, she demands more of me than I give her. And I've got about 700 or 800 miles on her. But I like, it's the rural, Washington County's rural roads, Springville Road or Helvetia, or any of those roads out there, I like to run around. With that one, it gives me my distance, it gives me my pace, cadence, you know, and even calories burned, estimated calories burned. Every July, I conduct a ride called the Cold Stone Creamery Tour. A medium-sized vanilla ice cream cone has about 450 calories. You ride your bike for an hour, 450 calories.
Aha.
So it's a win-win
The
situation.
method to the
Okay.
madness.
Yeah.
I
So,
know-
so it's just you know, just for me to reference for myself.
I noticed you referred to your bike as she.
Yeah.
And so I want to know, did you name your bike, and what is her name?
No. Actually, this one's my cousin Donald, to be truthful. No, his name is kind of, well, I won't even show it all here, but similar to this, my other bike, my road bike, is a she, yeah, and she's fast.
And do you have any other questions or comments?
Well, I was going to ask the chain. Is there some lifespan of the chain? That is there a time period like a year or how many miles? Because that's something I definitely ignore. I just assume it's going to go around like it's supposed
Sure.
to.
Well, over time, the grooves in the chain, the grooves in the chain ring, and also in your cassette, get worn over time, and the little barrels in the chain itself. So in other words, they're pulling on each other, wearing on each other all the time. So you get that gap. Probably, I'd say about a year. And the best way to do that would be to take it into a bike shop, because they have a tool, that chain measuring tool that they put on it, and it'll show whether or not you have too much play, and if you do, then that's the time to
It looks
change.
like our viewers have a view of the chain and the crankset there. So what you're saying is that on the chain you have those barrels there, and you're going to point.
Well, the
point those
barrels
out.
are, and I'm sure most everybody has seen a chain before. It's the, there's a metal barrel in between these two, on this rivet, if you will, in between each link of the chain. Turn it sideways, kind of, to where you can see it. See?
Yes.
Well, kind of. Anyway.
And then you need to carry a rag with you because
Yeah,
you're
because,
gonna have
well, yeah,
a little oil
And
on those
yeah,
chains.
well, that's a dirty chain. That's what that is.
Yeah, I had a question to dovetail on that. I take my bike in for a tune-up 1 year, and then the next year an overhaul. Something like that could help keep your bike in pretty good operating order too, but you still want to do the quick check
Daily.
as each time you ride. Is
Each
that what
time
we're
you
saying?
ride. Each time you ride. And what you're talking about, the maintenance, the annual maintenance that you do is a good thing. I do twice a year, once in the autumn before the rainy season, and once after the rainy season, early spring. Just, you know, I'll break the chain, I'll clean it, I'll take the derailleur off and just clean everything up, give it a good clean, put it all back together, and then I'm good for that 6-month period. So, you know, but a year, depending on your riding style, if you ride all year, I'd suggest twice. Then that annual, or semi-annual, take everything apart and do it, or biannual, there you go.
I met a woman on the MS-150. I was working one of the rest stops, and she needed some attention to her chain. So I looked at the chain, and I asked her how long she had her bike. She said that she had that bike for over a year. I asked her if she ever put any lube of any kind on it, and she hadn't since the day she bought it. Not a good idea, is it?
No, not at all. And I would say be careful of the lubricant you use. Don't use oil. It's going to attract dirt. and hold it in. A lot of lubricants are silicon-based, and they'll shed debris as well as water for a long period of time. When in the rainy season, I'd say almost twice a week, maybe once every 2 weeks at the least. I'll check my chain for squeaks, and it's easy enough to do. Just put it on your neck like I did, and just crank it around and listen. You'll hear it.
Well, Ann and I were talking previously, and we said, okay, now that your bike is ready, how about you? So Ann had some questions for you on that.
Okay.
Well, what about clothes? I mean, some people don't have all the fancy shorts and the jersey like we have on display here this evening. What ideas do you have for just especially a newer rider that wants to get into it and doesn't want to have to run down and spend hundreds of dollars on clothes?
Hundreds of dollars, yeah. That can be a tricky thing to do because you want to enjoy your ride. And people want to ride in it all year round. They can, but you know, they can be more expensive on the clothing than maybe on your $200 or $300 bike. So one of the things that to me is important is what we call layering. And that just has to do with putting things that closest to your body that are light or that shed skin. Now it might be material like that. This is a lycra kind of t-shirt, but something that cotton is not a good thing because cotton gets wet. It holds that water, and you can feel cold if you're coming down a hill.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
Yes, you can.
So while you might still feel cold with something that will, where the water evaporates quickly from it, there's still that layer of protection between your skin and that shirt that helps keep you warm. So you also want to dress in a way that as it gets warmer, should that be the case, because we always want that to happen, you can take your clothes off without having to take something off and put it back on.
Now I notice you have a jersey underneath that shirt that resembles the kind of jerseys we have on display here. And so we're talking about those jerseys being the type that wick away perspiration and moisture. And so what type of clothing are you accustomed to wearing, Ann?
I pretty much have the bicycling stuff, but I think it could be interchangeable if you do different activities maybe. You know, cross-country skiing or running or whatever, all this stuff kind of can just go from one activity to another. What about shorts? You know, the shorts with the padding in it, maybe we can just get by with some regular soft shorts or something?
Yeah, you can do that, depending on where you're riding and for what purpose. If it's a short distance, if you're riding to the max, for example, you're going to put your bike on the train or put it in the locker, riding down in your underwear. Not in your underwear.
They do have padded underwear, by the way.
Yeah. Well, right. In fact, I have a pair on right now.
Hey, he's got legs.
But it's just got that soft padding to give me just a little bit more comfort here. No chafe lines because I ride long distances. That's the main reason I wear them.
Along with those padded shorts or padded underwear, I notice you have a cushy seat there. And it seems like that would kind of help too.
Well, yeah, this has a shock absorber on it.
Yeah.
I'm getting to be old, and you know, and that pounding can be quite a bit. But it really helps a lot. I didn't want a full or any kind of suspension bike because I don't know, to me they're too soft.
I notice you have some eyewear there in the form of some shades. Help to protect your eyes from the sun and glare, and it looks like you might even have a pair of racing or safety glasses there.
Well, they are safety glasses. I got them primarily because they're clear, because this is part of the safe, as far as I'm concerned, safety equipment.
If you can hold those up so the camera can pick them up
Sure.
and the audience can get a shot at those. So the ones on the top, the yellow ones, are basically the safety glasses. The others are your shades, but they still offer some protection as eyewear for maybe possible flying debris or.
Exactly. That's why I wear them. That's the only reason. You know, these glasses that I wear normally, they're open here, and if under the right conditions, it's like the wind funnels through and just makes me tear up. With these, it's blocked. And like you mentioned, the debris, rain, whatever, you know, I don't get it in my eye. So that's a couple of things I have there as far as safety.
I noticed you have a little snack on your table there. That's something that we should carry?
Yeah, well, it's a power bar.
Maybe you can show that to our viewing audience. Camera will pick that up.
Well, it's a power bar. Actually, it's not really. It's a granola bar. But it gives me some quick energy when I need it, in case so I don't hit that wall.
Right.
I suffer. I'm asthmatic, and there are times when I suffer some pain, breathing discomfort, and if I slow down, drink a little water, and have something to eat, then I'm fine. Yeah.
Oh, you mentioned something very important, water.
Yeah, well, here's my cage for my water bottle. I operate on the tenet, eat before you're hungry and drink before you're thirsty. If you're already on the ride, number one, bring water with you to begin with. But hydrate even beforehand. Maybe, and that's what I do, is I drink a nice cup of water before I even get on the bike. And it'll help you get from one end of the ride to the other.
And it won't help you much if you just take your water bottle along for a ride and never take a sip out of it.
Exactly. Yeah. Hydrate often. If you're thirsty already, it's not too late, but you gotta feel like you gotta drink a lot more just so that your body can catch up.
So what other, I'm sorry, you have a question?
Well, I was just going to say it could take a little practice riding to learn to drink while you're riding your bike, to be able to reach down and still maintain control of the bicycle and reach down and take a drink, and that way you do stay hydrated. You don't have to stop. Or in traffic, you know, if you're at a stoplight, you can take that opportunity to drink some water.
As a league cycling instructor with the League of American Bicyclists, I conducted clinics this summer for the MS 150. And it's a group riding clinic. And that's one of the things that we had the kids learn, was to be able to ride, pull out the bottle, take a drink, and put it back. When you got, like the bridge pedal, 19,999 other riders with you. So yeah, staying hydrated is very important and essential.
Now we are going to have some sort of helmet fitting session here, and I guess Ann is going to participate in that. I'll help you here. So, kind of tell us what you're going to do and how you're going to do it.
Well, certainly. Helmets are probably the first line of defense when you're riding your bicycle. It's the highest, so when it falls, it can hit the hardest. I broke a clavicle. I wrecked my helmet, but here I'm here to talk about it. Okay, so I would say it's the first line of defense. It doesn't make you safe, but it will help you and add to your safety should something happen. A proper fitting helmet is important. If it doesn't fit, it's not going to provide you any protection at all. What I'm going to do is, this is Ann's helmet, and I'm going to have her put it on, and she's going to fasten it, and then I'm going to show you just how things should be attached, or how it should look on the helmet. Okay.
So first thing you do is, if you're dealing with a person or maybe even a child, you get down at their level so that you can actually get a good view of the helmet. Is that
exactly,
right?
because I want to see just how it fits on her head. You can see it straight out, and there's not even 2 fingers in the front of her helmet. There you go. We often see, and go ahead and loosen your helmet.
Okay.
We often see people riding kind of like that.
The bonnet style.
The bonnet style, where it looks cute, and
the wind can still blow through your hair.
Yes, and you don't want helmet head, right?
You might as well not have one
if
at
you
all.
smack your head, there's a lot of brain matter. So go ahead and bring it forward, Ann, like it should be. See, I can't. That's beautiful. If I could get 2, would be the maximum, but you can see I'm on the bridge of her nose right there. Okay, I'm gonna have you turn sideways. Come on back a little bit. There you go. Now you'll see the forward strap and the back strap meet right here at the base of her ear. You want as square a position with this strap as you can. Turn a little bit more in, if you will, so folks can see that. You can see how it just meets at a nice right angle, just about right there. And again, her helmet's still flat on her head. Good, come around the other way. Also, she should be able to just get her fingers under there, put her head up, and still feel comfortable without choking for that to be a good fit. Okay, it's a little bit loose, but go ahead and take it off, and now we'll have you adjust it.
Okay.
This is what gets people most of the time is in adjusting their helmets. And if you'll just zoom right in there and watch Ann do it.
It's got this little rubber bandy thing on, so I kind of loosen that up, and I'm just going to shove that up just a skosh, huh?
Yeah.
See how that works.
Yeah, you don't want to get it too far because then you might choke yourself. Okay, much better.
That's a little
But bring
tighter.
your fingers from the back so folks can see that space here. And there you go. See, that's what the kind of fit that you want on that. Now, this helmet, go ahead and take it off if you will. This helmet and my helmet, many like it, also have what they call a.
We'd call it a dial-up.
Well, okay, let's call it a dial-up. But what it does, this can, when you tighten it down, it'll, let's see if I can do it. It'll bring it closer into your head, and snug it up. What I want to do, let's open it up and maybe turn all the way around.
Yeah, if you could move your fingers and show it to the audience one more time.
What's that?
The dial.
The
Yeah,
dial?
show that
Okay.
dial again.
Okay, the dial, right. And many helmets will have different types. Some will have nothing. But what it does, it holds the helmet firmly on the back of your head as well.
Yeah, some have a little slide on it, and
Yeah.
some don't have anything. And
Right.
with the strap.
So that's what we're going to do is we're going to dial that in while it's on Ann's head. Go ahead and snug it on.
Okay.
Pull it in. Go ahead and turn right around. All the way.
Oh, all the way?
backwards, yeah.
Okay,
And what I
sorry.
want you to do is tighten it back yourself to where it's
Okay.
comfortable. A little bit more so they can see that. Okay.
Oops, that there. I can feel it cinching up on my
Cinching
head.
up, yeah. Right, there you go.
That
Let's
looks
hold
good
it
and
nice
tight.
and snug. Right.
Yeah.
See, and she's not going to lose that helmet.
And it's not so tight that it would give you a headache.
Right.
No.
No.
Yeah.
And if it is, you can loosen
Then
it
you
up.
loosen it up.
Or if you get a haircut or something like that, you might need to make an adjustment.
Yeah.
Or in the winter, you might put the ear things on or something. So it's got a lot of versatility.
Okay. Well, Ann's going to be doing her little presentation in a moment, but you have something to show us regarding the helmet in the medical alert ID.
Sure.
So if Ann will come back over, you'll get ready for your
Okay.
segment. Hal and I are going to take a break, and the spotlight's going to be on
Got
you in a moment.
There we go.
Okay. Well, this is my helmet. It's very similar
So
to
if you could
Ann's.
hold up a little bit so the audience can see
Okay.
it.
I'm
camera
going to zoom
will
in
pick it
on what I've got here on the top of the helmet, right here. That's what we want to see.
There you go.
One of our members in New York, from New York, by the way, that's a medical caduceus. It's a medical symbol. EMTs are trained to look for those. You've seen people with them on bracelets, for example. This is put on the outside of your helmet, and on the inside, gotta come back to it. Let me move this out of the way. You can see this window here, this yellow window. It's a little plastic envelope. Inside that envelope, you can see my name is upside down there. But that's information about me. My medical history, my doctor's name, my significant other's name. In case something happens, they know who to call. As I mentioned earlier, when I fell and broke my clavicle, I had one of these. When I woke up in the hospital room, my first question was, where's my bike? And the EMTs had transported it to the hospital because on there I wrote, transport bicycle.
Oh, clever.
Well, you
So-
can go ahead and stay
Save
right
me
where you
100
are if
okay,
you would like.
sure.
Because Ann's going to spend a few minutes with a little report about what's going on around town, and then we're going to get set up for a brief presentation that Al's going to make on some maneuvering, and then we're going to go into how to fix a flat. So stay with us, and we invite you to call in. We still have a few minutes where you can call in with questions and comments, or just to wish us well. So, Ann, take it away.
Okay. Well, let me tell you what's going on in the near future. This being in August, kind of the end of August, and you know, we're thinking summertime is kind of winding down, but we've got some good riding time left, September and the end of August, and even into early October. So we have a lot of family rides coming up through Portland Wheelman, and
Yeah, they're kind of giving her mixed signals on where
we've got our family
is.
rides coming up through Portland Wheelman. We've got some in August. This weekend we've got one on out of Willamette Park, so on the Willamette River into Portland, to show you how to do that. We've got one in September out by Vancouver Lake, and we've got several others, and in October we're going to do the Banks Vernonia Trail. So go to pwtc.com, and you can link to anything I talk about through pwtc.com. Most of the bike clubs still have rides every weekend. There's lots of good rides coming up. Exciting this weekend is the Portland Twilight Criterium, which is a professional bike race. So,
well, if I can establish, when you say this weekend, we're talking about the weekend of August 21st.
The 24th of August is the Portland Criterium. Again, a professional bike race in downtown Portland. It's Friday evening, and it's just a fun activity to watch people race their bikes, and it's a tight little course in the city limits, on the roads in town. Also, the Portland Century is this weekend. That's the 25th of August. And it's, we talk about Century. Century is 100 miles. If you're not quite ready for 100 miles, there's a 50-mile course and a 25-mile course. And that's in town. So that's a good activity too. And they'll take good care of you. You pay money to do some of these rides, but they feed you. They have bagels and peanut butter and all kinds of goodies to eat at various rest stops, and you can refill your water bottles there. And again, the various clubs have rides all the time. Portland Wheelman has their family rides, but I've noticed that Vancouver Bike Club too has a lot of real easy beginner flat rides. I know that's a ways to go, but maybe you could incorporate it into some other family activities and head up to this, cross the state line into Washington and ride up there in Clark County, because there's a lot of good flat courses up there. And again, Vancouver Bike Club seems to be offering some beginner rides that are maybe 10 miles, very flat, that sort of thing. So those things are coming up, and keep an eye on some of these different websites to see what kinds of rides are offered, because most clubs are riding all year into the winter. And it's really not too soon to kind of start training for maybe some of these big rides that are next summer, like Seattle to Portland, maybe your first Century or 100-mile ride. You can start thinking about that and start training for something like that.
Well, thank you very much for that report, Ann. I rode the Banks Vernonia Trail recently, and what a fun ride to go up to Stubbs Stewart's Park, up past the registration point at the very first lookout. Next time we're going to ride all the way up to the lodges, but I had a wonderful time out there. I see families out there all the time riding. I've worked the rest stops there, and I've ridden past that area. It seems to be well attended. So take a ride out there in that Banks Vernonia Trail. Join Ann's ride. Bring the family. It is a family ride, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, we only have about 17 minutes to go, and I'm going to skip over one of our segments because we have some very important demonstration that we would like to show. So if we can get the rides demonstrations ready, but we're only going to let you describe them, Hal, and there are 3 of them. So if they could bring those up, and the first one is going to be on an emergency stop, and that's about a 34-second clip, which is on, our viewers are watching it now. Can you describe it, please?
Sure. Well, an emergency stop just indicates that you have to stop in a hurry. We know that if you squeeze your front brake too hard, you can end up over the top. So what you're doing there is putting your seat weight back over the back tire, adding more stopping power there, and reducing it on the front, and you're not going to jump over the top. Exit.
Yeah, I noticed that thing had you doing all sorts of acrobatics on there and trying to, if you're not doing it properly, then those things can happen to you.
Well, I mean, like that one that we showed, that last part of that clip there, I had to dismount from the bike, but it's not, I don't have to be glorious stopping. Yes. I just have to stop safely.
Just stop safely.
Yeah.
Now the next one is the rock dodge. I've got to see this one, the rock dodge.
Well, the rock dodge is interesting. When I learned it, it was a water bottle dodge. And what I've done here is taken some sponges and just laid them out in a narrow course. They're only about 8 inches apart, or no, about 10 inches apart. And you can see a piece of foam rubber that I have right in the middle. You see me splitting it? And that's with very little movement of my handlebar at all. You can see that tweak.
So seeing it from the front end,
it's more of a lean.
Yes.
See?
And so that's called the rock dodge.
That's called the rock dodge, and it's a contraindicative movement. In other words, what I did there was I aimed right toward that rock, just on the other side of it. And what it does, it brings your bike over, and then when you straighten up right away, your back wheel followed the track of the front wheel, and it's already behind it on the other side of the ball.
Now the next one, you refer to that as the instant turn. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
The number 2 cause of accidents is motorists making a right turn in front of bicyclists. This maneuver helps you avoid that. Those are 4-foot square boxes, and you'll see as I come this way, in the approach this way, you'll see I make a very tight turn. I only moved about a foot, not even that, out to into traffic. Again, it's another contraindicative movement because when you're, as it demonstrates here, when you turn your bike in one direction, it'll lean in the other.
And it's not so aggressive of a move that it throws you off balance, it seems.
No, because you correct it immediately. When we first began to learn how to ride, riding a bicycle is a controlled fall. There are 2 effects. One's called the caster effect. One's called the lean effect. Caster effect is the effect that your bicycle, the wheel wants to go this way. The lean effect is that it also wants to tip this way. So you're constantly controlling that. You practice that move, that instant turn, you're doing that same thing, but you're exaggerating it to save your life.
So I see we have it up again.
There it is.
So
again.
now you are a league instructor, or League of American Bicyclists instructor, and these are some of the kind of things that you do with the Washington County Bicycle Transportation Coalition, is that
Correct.
right?
Correct.
And so another thing that you do as part of your instructional program is that you teach people how to fix flats. And I understand that's what you're going to show us on this show today.
Okay, well, yeah, I'm ready.
Well, you're on.
Okay, well.
And you can take a position wherever you want.
No, I think I'm good right here if y'all can see me okay. For the sake of science and expedience, I've flattened this tire. I poked a hole in it. It's a bike, one of the, wasn't a ghost bike, but it could have been when we were doing that. So anyway, so I've been riding along and I realized my tire is flat, so what I'm going to do is, again, with returning to my toolkit, and this is your typical tire patch kit here. Actually,
we're going to see how good you are because you have exactly 7 minutes, and we're going to see how good he is at fixing a flat.
I bet he can do it. You want to take a wager?
Yeah, I bet he can do it.
Take a wager. Okay. Oop, if I can hold on to
First
the tire
you have to
lever.
be able to hold on, and that's a tire lever that you're using.
Correct.
And that one is a plastic one, I take it, or some kind of material
hard,
other than a metal
plastic,
one?
Right, under the other, because I don't want to cut my tire, pinch it, or anything like that.
So we have one tire lever that's inserted in and holds the tire in place while you take the other one around the wheel, or the rim of the wheel.
The rim of the wheel, right.
Uh-huh.
This is the easy part. And again, what I do, the stem was right here.
Yes.
So I'm going to start on opposite, and I'm going to break it off, keeping the stem where it was and also the tire the same direction. What I'm going to do is pull out the inner tube, again, keeping it in the same direction.
And I have a feeling I know why you're doing that, but I'm going to let you tell our viewers what that is.
I don't want to lose my place. In other words, when I find where this hole is, wherever it is, then I want to look in here to see if there's a nail, or a piece of glass, or even a blackberry barb.
Yes.
That happens all the time. So, then what you do is you turn to your rusty, trusty pump. I have a floor pump that works quite well.
And this type of pump you can pick up at any bike shop, is that right?
And you pump up your inner tube.
Get your additional exercise besides riding. Upper body exercise.
Yeah, and then you just feel around. Oh, there it is right away. Aha! Didn't take long at all.
That was easy.
Yeah, it was right there. I mean, very obvious. I used a compass. you know, from school. So it worked. But again, for expedience. Okay, so I know where the flat is. Now while there's still air in it, what I can do, I have corrosive paper, adhesive paper, no, carbide paper. Sandpaper. That's all it is. Just some kind of black stuff. What I'm going to do with it is rub it over the whole area about a little bit bigger than the patch. Because what I want to do is put the adhesive on it and have a lot of little surfaces so that it adhere. Because rubber is smooth and nothing's going to stick to it very much.
Okay, you've got 5 minutes to go.
5 minutes? I'm doing fine.
You're doing good.
I'm doing fine. I put the glue.
Okay, so we're using some glue, and it's not airplane glue, I take it.
No, I don't know what kind of glue this is. It's pretty good adhesive.
Well, and I've found too that these patch kits get old too. So
yes.
If you don't have to patch tires, that stuff all dries out and it's of no value to you out on the roads.
That's why I carry a spare.
Carry a spare tube, maybe 2 of them in case your patch kit doesn't work. Just throw another tube in there.
Okay, now what I'm going to do is let out the air in the tire so I'm not pushing up against that adhesive in the patch.
I had here that he could fix a flat in 7 minutes, but we're giving him 8. Is that what I said?
Well, I don't know. How much am I over time?
Let's see how much he needs.
Because I'm almost done.
Fine, yep.
Yeah, he is. He is.
Modern adhesives, you don't really have to wait as long. I hope I get it on the hole. I'm not quite sure where it is, but we'll try that. Take your patch kit box, which is a good thing. Just kind of rub everything in. Now, I also carry a little bit of baby powder. I don't have any here, but I have a small tube that I usually do. And what I do that for is I'll put it inside the tire itself so that it doesn't, sometimes the rubber will adhere to it, especially if you leave it in there for a long time, and it'll develop a bond between the rubber here and the rubber on the inside of your tube.
Now I notice you use the handle of your pump for the surface to work on.
Yep.
As opposed to having to get on your knees on the ground, you can kind of sit down and work on that little surface.
How many of us carry our floor pump with us?
Well, you know, I have a pump that fits on my frame that has a little stand on it. And it's equivalent to a little floor pump. Yeah, you know.
Okay, and well, what I do with mine, I have a small one, is I'll put it between my legs like this so that I have that same surface. Okay.
But this pump is for when you get back to your...
Right, so I found out where the hole is, and let me get back to that because I missed that point.
Yeah, we're using up some of your valuable time here.
Well, the hole... What I would do, and I missed that step,
is to feel around in there.
Right, to feel around is like carefully.
Yeah, because you might have something in there, and that something might cut your finger if you're not careful.
Right. Now for expedience, I don't think I'll put it all back together. I think what I'll do is just...
Chicken.
The main thing is to make sure the patch held, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay.
And so you feel around inside, because if you still have a piece of glass or some sharp object in there, and you've just fixed your flat, then you can get another flat.
You will put another hole either in the same patch, or if you turn the inner tube around, you got it on the opposite side.
Right.
Because nothing's gone away. If it's on the outside of the tire, it's usually because you picked something up. You can also have pinch points on your rim, so it could be on the side, or it could be because your tire split and it got pinched. Anyway, come on.
You pump it back up, and we're going to pretend like the tube is back on the inside the tire. We have about 5 minutes to go towards the end of the show. So how many flats do you figure you've fixed, Ann, in your career?
Well, I'm ashamed to say not very many. And certainly some unsuccessful attempts, but I have done it.
So what do you ride on? Some Armadillo tires, which are probably about the strongest tires in the world?
Really lucky, and and that's part of it.
Yeah, and there's ingredients called like some kind of slimy stuff.
Yeah, some slime.
I've used it before, but then you can't patch the tire, the tube. One of the things I'll also say is, if I've gone to this and not patched it, when I get home I'll patch it.
Right.
And 2 patches, and I'm done with it. If I get a 3rd hole, then then
you're done.
Yeah, it's kind of, that's recycling 3 times.
So basically, it doesn't really take long to fix a pack. If you were on the road, if you have a pump on your bike, a little hand pump, you can have the option, if you carry an extra tube, of putting another tube in, fixing the flat, and patching it when you get home. But you want to make sure you find out what caused that flat before you put the one you just patched or a new tube in the tire.
Exactly. Right. So, and you do that again by, you can turn it this way and feel on the inside, or you can look at it from the bottom. Especially if it's a little tiny hole. Again, you don't want it in your finger.
Now, how would our viewers contact you and find out about some of your classes on some of these bike maintenance issues and flat repairs?
Okay. Well, I have my classes listed on the league's website at thebikeleague.org, and there's one of the pull-down menus. You can get it there. If I tried to put it all over the place, I'd be confused about it. So I would suggest to folks for the classes to go to the Bike League's site. That's at bikeleague.org.
And you have some kind of training rides that you do too, for not just like for the MS 150, but don't you have some kind of skills courses that you do on occasion?
Well, I do conduct the group ride clinics. I also conduct commuter classes. I've taught, I held a class for Washington County's land use and transportation engineers, teaching them motorist education, so that when they, as professionals, engineering professionals, when they do design, when they make considerations for bikes, they have a little bit greater understanding.
Great idea. Thank you.
I would say,
Yeah.
most of us, you know, we all, anyone who knows how to ride a bike probably learned as a kid. You know, my dad let go of my saddle, and that was about all the education that I have. And I believe that education is a key factor in bicycle safety, whether you're behind the wheel or in the saddle.
Well, we have about 2 minutes before the end of the show. Are there any comments that you would like to make, Ann?
Well, about the tire changing, I think getting some hands-on experience is good before you're out on the road, you know, on the side of the road in the dust trying to figure this out. But it is a pretty logical process. So part of it you can just kind of logic it out and figure it out. But I think taking some kind of a class or having an experienced cyclist help you go through it once in the comfort of your own home is really a confidence builder.
And as I mentioned, I was teaching a young man who autistic. He's about 20 years old, and we went to the bike gallery, and he had a flat. We had been on a class together, and we went in there, and the guy let him come back, and he was able to show him what what Patrick and I had been talking about. So it was really beneficial.
Yeah.
Well, our time is up, and I'd like to thank you, Hal, for coming on and
My pleasure.
giving us this wonderful and beneficial demonstration. And Ann, I think we're going to see you again on our next show in September.
Absolutely.
And I wish I knew what the next show is September 18th. These guys are really on top of it. Well, my name is Bruce Buffington, the host of the show, and I would like to remind our viewers that please feel free to call in when you're watching these shows. They are live call-in shows, and we'd like for you to be a part of our conversation. And a little reminder that you are responsible for your own safety. Please obey all the laws. Be aware of your surroundings, and please share the road so that everyone can have a safe riding experience. And thank you for tuning in.